Good morning. Welcome to Falls Free Friday. Thank you for joining us today. This is the first in our series. Every Friday in September, we will have 1 to 2 Falls Free Friday events. Today's event, we're so excited to have Jocelyn Simpson, who's going to lead us in a Tai Chi demonstration. Before we get to that, though, I'd like to do some introductions and tell you a little bit about us. My name is Elizabeth Head. I'm the Deputy Director for Injury Prevention at the Georgia Department of Public Health. We are excited to bring these series of presentations to you in partnership with our friends at Emory, the Injury Prevention Research Center at Emory, or IPRICE, the Georgia Fall Prevention Task Force, which is seated within the Injury Prevention Research Center at Emory, wonderful partners at Shepherd Center, and many other partners throughout the state that are dedicated to this mission of fall prevention in Georgia. We are going to launch a quick poll if everyone could see the poll as it's coming up, and just tell us how you heard about today's event. It is a multiple choice event, so you could choose more than one option depending on what works for you. And you just do the choices by clicking on them. Fantastic. So as that poll goes away, we will go ahead and launch into the overview of our speaker today. We are so pleased to have with us, I cannot minimize Zoom. Okay, we're beautiful. Our poll results are back up for us. All right, today we are hearing from Miss Jocelyn Simpson. Jocelyn is originally from Ohio. She has lived in Acworth since 1991. After graduating from Ohio University, Jocelyn worked as a paralegal for several years before moving to Georgia, focusing on music and later on fitness, including Pilates and Tai Chi. Jocelyn has been teaching Pilates, mat and fitness since 2003. She's certified through AFFA and CSW. She was trained in the full Pilates repertoire at Core Bodyworks, including both classical and contemporary styles in 2008. Throughout each year, Jocelyn takes many continuing education courses as she loves to learn new things to pass on to her clients. She's a certified pre- and post-natal Pilates specialist, certified through Carolyn Anthony's program at the Center for Women's Fitness. In addition, Ms. Simpson has been teaching Tai Chi since 2006 and is certified in all of Dr. Paul Lamb's Tai Chi for Health programs. She serves as secretary on the Tai Chi for Health programs board of directors and currently serves as a master trainer in the organization. She teaches at various locations, including here at Strong Tower, and conducts Tai Chi instructor training workshops. She enjoys music, hiking, and spending time near the ocean. She attends the Square Church in Smyrna. Jocelyn, we're so happy to have you with us today. I'm going to go ahead and pull up the PowerPoint so that you can get started this morning.
So thank you very much. I'm delighted to be here and share. So although Tai Chi for Health Institute has a variety of programs, most of which focus on chronic conditions, today I'm here to talk about our fall prevention program. And just so by way of background, if you're not familiar with Tai Chi, it is a martial art, but it's not done like hard martial arts. It's a very soft form. It's slow moving, where it focuses on mindfulness, and it's used primarily for health and wellness now. You can look at those points. It's kind of an interesting contrast. It's gentle but very powerful. It involves the whole body and has many health benefits. So here are some of the benefits, and what I really want to draw your attention to is the first bullet point. The world's largest fall prevention study was held in Sydney, Australia in 2007, and it involved a 16-week practice of this program, one class per week. And after 16 weeks, 16 classes, it showed nearly 70% reduction in recurring falls just from doing the Tai Chi and learning principles that can help with fall prevention. So here are some of the things that help. So it builds confidence, which we do through spirit calling. So when people are afraid of falling, they're more likely to fall. They look down, they're nervous, their steps are not as defined. And it's unfortunate that it's just provides the opposite effect of what they really want. Tai Chi improves balance, and I'll demonstrate some of that later. But the main way, in my opinion, that it improves balance is because you're basically standing on one leg the whole time, but you don't realize it because you're stepping slowly and you're putting the foot down like ball heel or heel ball, depending on which direction you're going. And because that's a slow stepping process, it really affects balance in the same way it would if you were standing on one leg. Improving muscle strength and flexibility. So it's way more gentle than going to a gym and some of the more high risk fitness classes. Our programs are designed to be safe, and safety is the most important thing to us. So we modify things to whatever works for people. It's already a modified program of a traditional Tai Chi, Sun style Tai Chi. And Sun style Tai Chi was also the first traditional Tai Chi that was designed for health purposes. So it fits right in with us, and that's why one of the reasons it was chosen for this fall prevention program. Situational awareness and mindfulness both are really important for fall prevention, and I'll demonstrate how some of the movements work for that in a little while. Mindful stepping, weight transference, you can just read this list and see why it's important for fall prevention. And we'll also experience the breathing method, Dantian breathing method, and that's designed to reduce stress and promote calmness. So if you are reducing stress in your life, and if you have a way to calm yourself down, if you're upset or in a hurry or whatever, then you can draw on that and you're less likely to fall. In addition, it's fun. So people are more likely to stick with it because it's fun, and it definitely promotes socialization. Sometimes it's hard to bring people back into the Tai Chi because they're so excited to see each other and communicate together. So when the pandemic came and everyone's scrambling, what are we going to do now? Dr. Lam, he is, by the way, the director of the Tai Chi for Health Institute, and he designed all these programs. And he resides in Sydney, Australia. We were never permitted to do virtual training because the thinking was it's safer and people understand better if you're in person. But all of a sudden we couldn't be in person. So what do we do? So Dr. Lam developed a guide for training instructors virtually and teaching classes virtually, and that is on his website. So it's tchi.org, where you can get additional information at any time that you'd like. So our purpose as an institute, the Tai Chi for Health Institute, is to empower people to improve their health and wellness. And our vision is to make Tai Chi for Health accessible to everyone for health and wellness. So those two things guide everything we do. So all our teachers are trained to teach in that way. So if you're trying to decide what should I do this or that, you just go back to that and empower people to improve health and wellness. Will this do it or not? And our vision about making it accessible is why Dr. Lam decided to allow virtual workshops and classes, because otherwise we couldn't provide that. So Georgia Tech contacted me, um, and they ran a study, and actually there's still, they have all the early results, but they're still doing it. And so Dr. Lamb happened to be in town, and we went with them and talked about um, doing the seated version of Tai Chi for arthritis and fall prevention for people that are permanently homebound with spinal injuries, and they can't stand up and do the movements, and then you need modifications, lots of modifications for that program. And so one of the instructors that I trained is now teaching those classes. So I'm really excited about that. Okay, so let's see. So these were our concerns. No local classes during that time, isolation, depression, um, and all of that just affecting people's health, as you all know. And now it's different, because people are getting out more, but there are some people who still do not want to. And so, and I'll tell you another advantage. What we found out is when we started doing the virtual classes and training, instructor training workshops, is that we were able to reach out everywhere. Places where people don't have classes. They're maybe a smaller populated city, and even in other countries. So just recently, I trained the first Tai Chi for arthritis and fall prevention instructor in the country of Portugal. And she's come back and taken 2 more workshops with us. So, it was a horrible time, but good things came out of it, as I'm sure you've experienced as well. Okay. So the seated Tai Chi for arthritis is designed for people that maybe it's too risky for them to do it standing, or they prefer to be seated, or maybe they're in a wheelchair, those kinds of things, health reasons. So the fact that our programs are modifiable enabled us to develop the seated version of Tai Chi for arthritis and fall prevention. And our programs are regressive and progressive, which means that when we are teaching a class and we see that people need more modifications, we can do that. And we can progress them over time to improve their health, improve their movement. And so that's why it's progressive as well. We use visualization, and that is a big part of the Georgia Tech study because of that population. So people can visualize the movements, and studies have shown, they've done ultrasound studies, and you may be aware of this, that visualizing a movement can be detected. So it can provide as much benefit as actually doing it. And it's an important skill for people that are fall risks. Talked about that. So, and this lends itself well to virtual applications because it can be forward facing, and it fits within the frame. So it's not all over the place. We simulate weight transfer, and I'll show you that. It's easier to show you than explain it, even though you're sitting down. So it engages the lower body, and it gives you the benefit of weight transfer when you can't stand and do that. And it incorporates a mirror image teaching adaptation because you're not going to sit in the chair and have your back toward everyone. So, yeah. Was that the last one? I forgot.
It was, yes.
Okay, I just want to mention that the website again is Tai Chi for Health Institute.org or tchi.org. And the reason I mentioned that is there's lots of articles, lots of information there if you want to learn more about more than I can present in just this time that we have. And so that's a good resource. And let's just get to it. Okay. So we're going to do this seated. And I'm going to show you the warm-ups and cool downs. And also there are 6 movements. You go 2 directions. And so let's give it a try. I'll have to scoot back a bit so you can see my feet.
If at all possible, friends, please make sure that your cameras are on. We're doing this seated, so we're certainly in a safer position. But this really helps to simulate this sort of group engagement, if you can do so.
So first, you're going to sit forward on your chair. And if possible, you don't want to be leaning back. And it's nice to have a chair without arms so that you can move freely. However, if people need a chair with arms so that they can support themselves getting in and out of the chair, that's fine too. And you're going to think about your posture. So upright posture is part of the fall prevention protocol. And you just think about lengthening from the crown of the head, lengthening your spine, feel like you're almost getting up out of the chair, but you aren't. And just doing that is work. And if you try it, you'll see. So as you try to lengthen and push your feet into the floor, and if I asked you to hold that position for about 5 minutes, I think you'd be tired, right? So what I always say when I teach seated classes is that seated is not for sissies, because it's not easy just because you're sitting in a chair. And you'll see what I mean in a minute. So let me talk about the breathing for a minute. And I'm going to have you put one hand here on your lower belly and one hand here on your chest. And I just want you to breathe normally. Now, what I want you to pay attention to is which hand rises and falls with your breath. Is it this hand or this hand? So if it's the top hand, that is a stress breathing. When we're worried about something, excited or stressed about anything, usually we're breathing here. And if the belly expands on your inhale and exhale draws in, so that is the breath that we want to use in Tai Chi. It can be referred to as the Dantian breathing, diaphragmatic breathing, abdominal breathing. But the idea is that this calms your nervous system. So anytime you're stressed, this is a good breath to use. And in Tai Chi, we attempt to use that breath the whole time. By the way, there's also like DVDs and online lessons. And even on YouTube, Dr. Lam has a free lesson for this program. And you just look up Dr. Lam free lesson, Tai Chi for arthritis and fall prevention. And he'll go over a lot of this. And there's also a program called Tai Chi for Rehabilitation. If you go to that free lesson, he goes into detail about how to use this breathing method. Okay, so we'll focus on that again a little later, but I'm just going to go ahead and get us into some movements. We always start with warm-ups and stretches. And so the first one is just opening and closing your hand, moving your fingers, saying hello to your participants. So if you had someone sitting next to you, you just turn and smile, say hello or whatever, which is a warm-up for the community. And also, if someone does have arthritis, this is really nice to do. Just kind of loosening everything up. And then we start with our stretches, and we do 2 stretches for all the major joint areas of the body: neck, shoulder, spine, hips, knees, ankles. So the first one is for the neck. So you're just going to relax your arms down by your side, and then you're going to slowly bring your arms up. And then you're going to turn your hands and bring your hands close. When you bring your hands close, you are pushing your chin back without touching your chin. So you're pushing your chin back and then releasing when the hands go forward, and then you're going to look down as the arms go down. And we just do 3 of these. So arms rise, press the chin back gently, release, and watch the hands as they come down. One more time. Breathing in, breathing out. Now just know that the breath work, I'm just giving cues. Everyone breathes at their own rate, so don't feel like you have to breathe just like I'm saying. I've done Tai Chi for a long time. The longer you do it, the longer your breath becomes. Okay, so let's look at the next stretch for the neck. And even if you just do these stretches in the morning or sometime every day, it's going to be beneficial. So arms come up. And then you're going to take one hand down, one hand up, and your head is going to turn as you watch your hand and maybe move your head 70% of its range of motion. This is a really great one to teach seated rather than standing because people tend to move their hips and it's not a realistic demonstration of what their neck can do. Not that you're trying to achieve something, but each time you are moving your head just a little bit more, unless you feel pain. So Dr. Lamb talks about that saying, no pain, no gain. And he says, pain, no brain. So it's not good to cause pain to your body. And you'll come back. And we're going to do little shoulder rolls, almost imperceptible, because you don't want to create any tension. So we did 3 forward and we'll do 3 back. Nice and relaxed. Our point with all of this is just to relax. And in a class, I would guide people with that diaphragmatic breathing method as we went through this. Now, arms rise. And then you push down. So you inhale as the arms come up and exhale as they come down. One more time. Okay, so moving from shoulders to the spine, we're going to imagine that we're holding a large beach ball. The top hand is going to come down, the bottom hand is going to come up and rotate as if you're pushing away the ceiling and the floor. And you maintain a bend in that elbow. You never want to lock out the joints. This is also a Qigong exercise. It's called separating the heavens and the earth. But we're using it to lengthen the spine, the whole spine. And of course, as usual, I forgot how many I've done. So we're going to move on to the next one. Same start position. Also really good to do seated versus standing because of the hips. So you're going to turn and you can see yourself in your screen. So the bottom fingers, you don't want them to go past the line of your body. And then you turn that over. Because we're just trying to gradually warm up the spine. Now we're warming it up in rotation, but you don't want to overstretch. And then you just move nice and slowly back and forth. And we'll do one more each side. By the way, the study that I told you about fall prevention, that was the world's largest, if you go to the website, there's a link there under, I think it says medical studies, and that'll take you to the study if you want to review it and get more information. Okay, so we're moving on to the hips. Now, if we were doing the standing version, the lower body stretches would be different than what they are seated. So the arms are going to come up. And as they come down, you're going to push down into one leg and extend the other leg. Let me turn sideways. And extend the other leg as your arms go back. So you bring it in as the arms come up and out as the arms go back. One more. If you were doing this standing, the leg would go forward and behind you, but you can't really do that seated, but I'll go ahead and do the other side standing so you can see. So arms up. So this is the other leg. So you can see that you're balancing on one leg, but you can always pause here if you choose. And when I train instructors, I also show them ways that they can teach all of this holding on to a chair, obviously not that side. Chair being positioned here or here if you're behind it. So you don't have to necessarily sit down if you have balance problems. You can use a prop. Okay, so the next hip one is going to be pushing down with one leg and turning out the opposite one. And you're just going to push your arms to one side. So you'll press and open. So you're creating this nice line of opposition here. And the other foot pushes down into the ground. If you just put your foot into the floor, you'll feel all these muscles engage, yes? And last one. Okay, knees. So basically the point with the knees is we want to bend and straighten the knees. So how much? It's just dependent on the person. So basically you can tap out with the heel, bring it back, other leg, tap out with the heel, bring it back. So we use punches, but our fists are like open. We can see through them. They aren't tight. So I would extend with the opposite arm, which is important for fall prevention too, because that contralateral movement, if I've got that right, does help. Now, if they get stronger, if they have the flexibility, they can extend their leg higher as long as they don't lean back to do it. So you do one set in that dorsiflexion, and then you'll do another set with plantar flexion or pointing the toe. So one set flexed, one set pointed. And if you're doing this with me, you can see that this is harder than the standing version because you're having to lift that leg up higher than if I were standing and doing that. You know, I'm not going to take my leg up to here. But that's what you're doing when you're sitting down. So seat is not for sissies, right? Okay. So moving on to the ankles. Okay, so you're just going to touch down with the heel and then the ball of the foot. And heel, ball, heel, and ball. And this is also harder seated than it is standing because you have to keep lifting that leg. And that quad is definitely going to be talking to you. And then we do inversion and eversion, or outside, inside, however you want to think about it. So you're going to touch down the outside of the foot and then touch down the inside of the foot. And you do pick it up in between because you don't want anyone to roll their ankles. And then the other side for other foot. Sometimes people use their hips to do this. So it's important to do the best with ankle movement. And I'm fortunate, I guess, because not necessarily, but you can look at it two different ways. I have hypermobile ankles, which I wanted to ice skate so bad when I was young, and I just couldn't do it. But it is nice to be able to get that stretch. And as people do this or the other one, they're going to get more flexibility because sometimes what leads to falls is that people shuffle and they, don't have the strength to pick up their feet or to move through a step and then coming all the way up. And so I'll show you some of that if there's time at the end of the standing. But now we're going to go through the actual Tai Chi program. And there are 6 movements. We go to one direction and then we go to the other direction. So if you're standing, we go to the right first and then the left. If you're sitting down, it doesn't matter what direction you do. And I'm grateful because I'm a horrible mirror imager. And so that lets me off the hook totally. So today there are an additional 6 movements, but today we're just focusing on the basic 6 movements. So I'm going to show you the first 2. but I'm going to tell you that the fall prevention principle that we focus on for these first two is breathing awareness. So we are focusing on that Dantian breathing. So the arms come up, they come down, and you can just slide them across your legs, up the body, and out. Now, when we teach this, we break down the movements in smaller pieces so that people can learn them and be able to practice at home. But for today, let me just show you how I would teach this, and then we'll just move on a little more quickly with the other movements. So what I normally do is I show the complete movement. This is our teaching method. So watch me. And then I break it into parts. So I might just have people take the arms up and take them down, and do that several times, because usually people are fine with this part, but they get confused with the next part. And although it looks really easy, Tai Chi looks really easy, but because you're remembering and thinking about so many things at the same time, it's not as easy as it looks. And then I would ask the participants in the class to demonstrate that or practice on their own. And that gives me a chance to see, can they remember this movement? If it was standing, I wouldn't be facing them. And so that would give me a chance to see. But either way, what I want to focus on when they're doing it on their own is, are they moving safely? That's the main thing. And do they have the general idea of what I'm trying to show them? And so that's the focus of that. Okay, so, and then I would move on to the next part and do the same, etc. So let's go ahead and just bring those arms up. That's what we did, and bring the arms down into the body and up about chest height, and then you reach those arms forward. So that is the first move, and that's called commencement form, because it's the beginning. One more time, we'll do that whole thing. See, normally I wouldn't do the whole thing, but I want to make sure we have time. Then leave your hands there, because the second movement is called open and close, and that's where you can really focus on the breathing awareness. And fingertips point up. Some people can't do that. They don't have enough flexibility in the wrists. So of course you can modify anything. So whatever's comfortable to people, that's what we want them to do. So with the hands there about the width of your head, you're going to separate the hands just to inside the shoulders and bring them back. And you're going to inhale as you open. Try to let that belly expand. Exhale as you close. Let the belly draw in. Inhale. And exhale. And inhale. And exhale. And then just bring your hands down. So you can also focus on the breathing awareness with the first part. So let's do that. So you're going to inhale as the arms come up. Exhale as they come down and in. Inhale as they come back up again. Exhale as they reach forward and come into position. Inhale as you open. Exhale as you close. Now, I will give that as an example, but again, everyone's breath pattern is different. So the main thing is just to breathe. And when you get to the open close, it's really nice to do the inhale here, because as your belly expands, so that it hands, and exhale, bringing it back. So those two movements are where we really focus on breathing, because if people practice breathing, it does help prevent falls, that breathing awareness. Then we move on to weight transference awareness. So how do you transfer weight when you're sitting in a chair? Well, I'm glad you asked that question. So what I'm going to have you do is just put your hands on your thighs, just in front of your knees, so you can feel what's happening. And I want you to push one foot down into the ground. So everything should tighten up when you do that. And then release that and push the other foot down into the ground. And release. And you may or may not notice that as you push one foot down into the ground, the other leg moves back a little bit. And you don't even have to try, it'll just do that. And if we don't take the break in between, we push the foot down, release the other one, push the other foot down, release the other. Can you see that rotation? Because do you feel the effect on the hips as well? Yeah. So it very much imitates what you would be doing if you weren't in a chair, because these would be steps. Okay, and it's really fun. And you can feel how it's getting into all kinds of areas of the body. So even though we're not standing, this is showing weight transference, which is important if people are walking, or maybe they're going to be walking if they work on this. If I were doing it standing, or I was teaching people and they were standing but using the chair for assistance, then I would be actually doing a step and coming back. And then I could do the other side as well. And when you do a step, it's really important that you sink all of your weight into one leg. I've done this to my right leg right now. And then I'm going to take a small step, heel, foot flat, but my weight is still in the back. That's the hardest thing to learn in Tai Chi, I feel. And then you slowly bend the knee, shift the weight forward. And then you peel the back foot off so that, because you don't want to just like pull it up. You want it to be nearly weightless and then totally weightless before you take the next step. And again, you touch down with the heel, foot flat, and I'll test people. I say, well, try to pick that up. And if they have to shift their weight back to pick it up, then, you know, that's telling. And then shift your weight forward, heel up, and step. So I do that footwork practice, and you can still do it with a chair by holding on. So you just step back as far as you can and still comfortably hold on and feel stable. And here you go. Heel ball, bend the knee, shift the weight, peel up the back foot, pause for balance. Heel ball without shifting weight, and then shift the weight and bring the other foot up. And then you can turn around and go the other way. So there's lots of options. I used to teach workshops all over the country for physical therapists, occupational therapists, and medical professionals. And they were so excited about all these techniques within the Tai Chi because they're so much below the surface. And that's really helpful for fall prevention. And that's why they were coming to the workshop. They were special continuing education workshops. And they were so excited to see all the things they could take back and use with their patients. So let's review this first movement. We'll go to the next one. So breathing awareness. So just breathe in and then just breathe naturally. Fingers up. Inhale to open. Exhale to close. So you're going to push your hands to one side, and you're going to push that opposite foot into the floor. And then you're going to release it, separate the hands, and now push the other foot into the floor, and you're looking at this hand. So again, if this was a class, I'd be breaking this into parts to make it easier to learn. But because of time, we're just going to play with that. So we just finished open and close. So you're going to push down one foot, and you can feel how it sort of pushes you in the direction that your waist should turn. Yep. So let's do that again. So pushing forward and then separating. So let's just do that from the beginning. So breathing awareness. Really focus on the breath. The breath's more important than the movements. And inhale to open, exhale to close. Push down in one foot as you push your hands forward, push down the other foot as you separate. And that's called single whip. Single whip leads into waving hands in clouds. So, and that's probably the most well-known Tai Chi movement. And you bring that hand down that you're looking at, and then you push down the opposite leg, and then that pushing down almost makes this happen on its own. And then you're always going to push down the foot where your bottom hand is. So you push down and you turn. And you push down and you turn. And you do this 3 times. So these would be steps if you were standing. So the single whip movement, this one, was focusing on weight transference awareness, because that's the first time where there's really a dramatic weight shift, and you can push your feet in and down in order to experience that. And then the waving hands that we just did has to do with situational awareness, because as you can see, there's a lot of things to keep in mind. So where are the hands? Where are the feet? And I'll show you standing. And again, you can do it with it standing with the support of the chair. And then you just release the legs, come back to open and close. And you close. So those are the 6 basic movements with 3 basic fall prevention principles: breathing awareness, weight transference awareness, and situational awareness. So let me show you standing. I think the situational awareness will be a little more obvious. So you can stand up if you want, or you can just watch me. I'm going to do the basic 6, and I'll do both directions so you can see how it looks. And I'll talk about those principles. So this is the commencement form. Another reason this style of Tai Chi was chosen is it has a higher stance. You don't have to bend your knees a lot. So those are empty stepping that I showed you earlier. Open and close. And here's the standing version of single whip. So it's an empty step. Shift some of your weight and look at the opposite side. Now we're going into situational awareness, bringing the hand down, foot in, step, change hands. So the step is the push down when you're seated. So one reason this is used for situational awareness is because of how you move your feet. So the foot should move just to the other side of where it was. But most people bring their feet together like this, which is a fall risk. And so if they can practice this movement, even if they practice this movement without the hands and just walk across the floor, that's going to be very beneficial. And then if they are able to do this in front of a mirror where they can see their feet, that's really helpful, because of course we don't want them to look down. But that's what an instructor would really be aware of. Are they stepping safely? And so it goes both sides. And if people are in a class and after they've done that for a while and they want more, there are extension movements. This lateral stepping to the side is something we don't do a lot of in real life. And so it can be a fall risk for people because they aren't used to moving that way. So that's one reason that movement is incorporated in there. So you get the lateral stepping, you get the empty stepping. So people, it's like you're stepping on something, you don't know if it's stable. And then if it isn't, you can move back. So people can be walking on all kinds of surfaces. And if they do take that time to feel that, whether it's secure before they step, so it's a good skill to prevent falls. I have a colleague and she was asked to train firefighters in Tai Chi. And she asked why. They said because their step is life or death to them. So if they just put their whole weight down, the floor could go out from under them. But if they do this Tai Chi stepping, then they're much safer. And if people that are fall risk do this Tai Chi stepping, and they may not do it as slow as we're doing it in Tai Chi, but at least if they step and they kind of think about what did I feel under my foot before they shift the weight, that's going to go a long way to preventing falls. I realize it's getting late, so I would like to just open it up to questions or turn it back over to Liz, whatever you would like to do. And do look on YouTube for the Dr. Lamb's free lessons, and you'll get an idea of more of what the program is about. He collaborated with the Arthritis Foundation when he initially did this program, and so there's interviews and things like that there as well.
Thank you
Oh,
so much.
I didn't cool you down.
Oh, let's do a cool down.
Yeah, so the cool down, I'll just show you seated, but you can, of course, do it standing. You're just going to gently punch the thighs because those quads get a workout, a lot of workout with seated, and you're just trying to loosen those muscles up. And then you're going to tighten everything, push the feet into the ground and release. So you inhale to tighten and exhale to let go. And so there's a lot of reasons, there's a lot of chronic conditions that this is good for. But another thing is a lot of people don't know how to let go. But if they tighten first, then they can figure out how to let go. And then the last one was also in our warm-ups, and it's just a really nice, relaxing stretch at the end. And you can incorporate breathing awareness by inhaling as the arms go up and exhaling as they come down. And one more. Boy, I'd be on Dr. Leo's blacklist if he knew I left out the cool downs.
I think what I learned today is I basically have stress breathed my entire life, Jocelyn. So a lot to learn on the breathing piece of things. So grateful for your today and your expertise. And every time we see you, one of our partners, Emma Shepard, has put the Tai Chi for Health Institute website in the chat for everyone. That'll be available whether you're viewing now with us or later on, as can be played back on the Injury Prevention Research Center at Emory's website. Any questions from our audience? Anything you want to know from Ms. Jocelyn while we have her?
I did want to, and I left that out so I wouldn't forget, and I forgot anyway. So this thing in front of the door, for people that want to do this at home, maybe they don't have a class, or maybe they have a class, but they can't remember. So Dr. Lamb has made all these posters. They're about $5 or something. And they show, this one is the warm-ups and cool downs, and they show them all. And we also have a book. It's called Tai Chi and Fall Prevention Handbook that is pretty inexpensive. And it talks about all the fall prevention things that I mentioned here. And it also has pictures of the movements of the Tai Chi movements as well in that.
That is absolutely incredible. I know I'm a visual learner, so seeing it as well as hearing the words are really important. It doesn't look like we have any questions, just so many thank yous in our chat box today. Jocelyn, your ability to teach something virtually and in person is absolutely incredible, and we are grateful to you for that.
Thank you.
Absolutely. With that, this concludes our first Falls Free Friday of 2023. Thank you so much for joining us. We will have additional Falls Free Friday events every single Friday in the month of September. Please go to the Injury Prevention Research Center at Emory's website, as well as social media for any of our respective agencies. And we will have the list of upcoming experts available for you to take a look at and register for the event. Thank you so much, everyone. Have a safe and happy Friday, and have a great rest of your month. Bye, everybody.
Bye.